What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle content. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a team that was actually kind of made up on the fly by a suggestion by one of my chat members, JankAF. He suggested we run Venusaur, and while I was trying to think of a team to run around Venusaur, because let's be honest, like Venusaur is so disrespected in the Great League right now, as Ice. So we started off here with the Venusaur, and I'm thinking, all right, what can we put along with it? What beats fire? What beats flying? And what can also have play into maybe some steel types, even though Venusaur usually does pretty well, just with how much damage. We also run the Shadow Venusaur. And if you're not fond of running Venusaur, or you don't have one, running Chestnut or Superior would probably be the closest alternatives here, although I definitely like Venusaur for its hard-hitting Sludge Bomb coverage move. But as far as our second Pokemon, we definitely, like, Dugong goes very well with grass types in this current meta because it does extremely well into not only the flying types, also has play into the fire types with Drill Run. And the third thing is that Dugong is just, like, it's so good. It's so bulky. It's got the Icy Wind, and a lot of teams are disrespecting Ice right now. Now, we had to figure out a third for the team, and the closest thing I could think of was Walrein. And I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot, because Walrein has similar coverage. It's also pretty spammy, has a good move set, and even though it's not as strong as it used to be back in 2022, it should core well with Venusaur. Also on PV Poke, while I was making the team, that's what was suggested to me. So if you don't have a Walrein you can use, or you don't want to spend the Elite TMs to build one, Auroras is good, as is most any other maybe flying type or maybe an ice type specifically that has play into fire. You just don't want to be weak to fire because there are some Alolan Marowaks running around, so you want to be careful of those. But let's get into the games here with Dugong on the save swap. This team performed very well. It's very, very hard to pick one Pokemon here that really deserves the feature. Now, my opponent's first lead in this game, or the opponent's lead in this first game here, is a Golurk. The entire team has really strong play into it. So what I do is I'm going to throw one Ice Shard to see if the opponent wants to swap out. And since they don't, then I'm going to save swap into my Dugong. Now, I do get responded on with a Dunsparce. And I also found out in this battle that Dunsparce does win Charge Attack priority against my Dugong. At least I thought it does. I couldn't tell if that was a Charge Attack priority tie or not because I couldn't see the rollout. But we get 2 debuffs, and it was not a cap tie. So Dunsparce does win this cap tie, by the way. But after 2 Icy Winds, we are absolutely fine with this. Like, after 2 Icy Winds, I can also get to another move, or the opponent's forced to throw. This is going to give Venusaur some farm. And anytime you can give Venusaur farm, its energy hits everything, even if it's resisted. I'm pretty sure in here somewhere that I have a Drifblim getting hit with a Frenzy Plant, and that hurt. Now, the opponent does have a Feraligatr, and while we don't necessarily have an immediately amazing response to a Feraligatr, this is one of those things where you kind of have to try to manage your energy and have some sort of energy lead going into the game. Now, the opponent was ABA weak to Venusaur, which is why they decided not to swap out, but Shadow Gator is extremely frail. I have actually a very difficult time using it because it just can't take a hit. It goes down in 1 Vine Whip after that, and at this point, 2 shields up, I'm just farming down this Golurk, and it is close, but we're able to get the farm down for the good game. Well played. I think Walrein is going to come back in a pretty good way if the meta stays the way it is, because there are so many teams that are just outright disrespecting Ice. Here's a Mandibuzz lead, the opponent not swapping out right away, and they come in with a Gastrodon. Gastrodon is not a good response to Dugong because those Icy Winds are going to come out faster than they can get to the Earth Power, and at that point, we're already off to the races. Gastrodon also winning Charge Attack priority. I'm kind of sad my Dugong doesn't really seem to win any cap ties in this new meta. Earth Power does a decent chunk of damage, right, but another Ice Power, Icy Wind, Earth Power, Ice Power, Earth Wind. It was all in there. For some reason, my brain just could not figure it out. Now, this is just going to be a body slam, and I'm very nice to let this go here. If the opponent does somehow get a knockout, that's great, but they don't, actually. We're able to get switch advantage, which is exactly what we needed. The opponent's going to come in with a Feraligatr to try and get an energy lead, and I'm just going to go for the Icy Wind here. Probably would have been better to go for the Drill Run, but I was not able to react. I just went for a move, and I was hoping that maybe they'd come back in with that stupid bird. But now the opponent comes back in with the bird after realizing that they may just get farmed down with 2 shields up. And Mandibuzz is not going to have a good time into this Walrein. Walrein does so many sweeps in this video. It really makes me think that it could come back in a big way. Even though, like I said, even though it's not the way it used to be, the opponent's going to concede it. Even though it's not the way it used to be, it's still very strong with all the ground and flying cores. Oh, here it is. This is the game. Here we go. Okay, we got Drifblim on the lead. Not good for the Venusaur, so we're swapping immediately into Dugong. The opponent is staying in here again. Maybe core broken. Only 5 Astonishes is always an icy win. It's always going to be 6 to the first Shadow Ball, so I can absolutely no-shield this. Then the opponent's going to come in with an Umbreon. Now, the Umbreon is a little bit awkward here because I am already debuffed. Typically, Dugong does extremely well in this matchup if it doesn't get debuffed prior, because you just debuff the Umbreon once or twice, and the amount of damage that they do into you, unfortunately, is just kind of pitiful. So we're going to be able to go for 2 debuffs now, and they're going to have to really, like, there's got to be a switch that happens here. We got to go into it at some point. Last Resort, not the move to throw here if you're the Umbreon. Usually you want to just go for the Foul Play or Dark Pulses if you're not going for just one more move. Last Resort does do more raw damage per move, but the spamminess of Foul Play usually allows you to get to more than just that couple of moves. So the opponent here going for the Last Resort for damage works out, but for the overall spamminess of Umbreon, you want to go for Foul Plays. They might be running Dark Pulse. I was even thinking for a second, maybe they're running Psychic. But the opponent does go for a move here after over-farming. They're double debuffed. Again, this is Venusaur chance to come in and get some farm. The opponent did throw their Icy Wind right away. I'm fine with no shielding this after so many debuffs. I'm not bothering, dude. It does nothing. So we're going to be able to get the farm down here. And also, we're getting pretty close to a move. So we get Walrein to come in, and the opponent has a Swampert in the back again. Another flying ground core here in this Great League meta. Icicle Spear, like, even old Walrein was really good into this because of the pacing advantage that it had. I'm going to have to call a Hydro Cannon here. Opponent probably going to bait with 2 shields up, and they do. Thankfully. There's also a charge attack priority tie, which we do lose. And at this point, like, I'm happy if I can just get the shields down and then get my Venusaur to go for a move. I'm very confident that a charge move from Venusaur would do a lot of damage to a Drifblim because it's fairly bulky, but we correctly call the Earthquake, which was really good here. The opponent maybe knowing that they're not going to get to another move after this, so they're just going to go ahead, but they are going to shield. I'm going to swap quickly into my Venusaur here to try and get some energy because I still have a shield advantage, and even though the Drifblim walls our energy, look at how much damage this does. Disgusting. Venusaur, you monster. Farms down the Drifblim before it can get to the Icy Wind, and we're able to take that game. Well played. Ice, baby. Oh, God, no. This thing scares me. This thing terrifies me, okay? So Chargerbug lead, all right? This normally, I probably should just go for the Frenzy Plant, but it's literally like every time I throw Sludge Bomb, they shield it. Every time I throw Frenzy Plant, they no shield it. So it's like, I don't know how to adjust in this matchup other than just go for the Sludge Bomb. I've tried both ways, and it doesn't really ever seem to work out in my favor. But what I'm hoping to do here is I am just going to try to get a shield advantage or maybe even get this Chargerbug low. I'm sort of also realizing that I'm not going to be able to get to a third move, unfortunately. So going straight Frenzy Plant, I think you can get to a third move here. But they do thankfully shield, but I'm going to go for 1 Vine Whip and then swap here, keeping myself close enough to 1 more move. Hopefully maybe later, if I have to, Venusaur can get to that 1 more Vine Whip and get to a charge move, depending on how the rest of the game goes. But I have to shield up here. The opponent has a ton of energy, and now they come in with a Feraligatr, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to win this game, if I even can. We're going to go for the Drill Run here. That's going to do damage. At least shields are down, and we're going to be able to go almost for another Drill Run. The opponent does throw right away. Now, Walrein's going to have to come onto the field and start doing something magical here. I'm going to wait out the switch timer, just not even a little bit, actually. I just kind of go straight in because my switch timer was already up. We're going to go for the Icicle Spear. The opponent maybe trying to reach for that Crunch, not having the Hydro Cannon, or maybe they are just running Crunch, but the Icicle Spear does enough to knock out, even though it's resisted against a Shadow Feraligatr. The opponent coming in with their Chargerbug here, they need to get to a discharge, and they're going to go ahead and save the energy that they've got, and now I can see the win condition here. We can live 1 move if the opponent has the X-Scissor. We just need to make sure that Walrein doesn't eat it, and I think that Walrein might actually win charge attack priority here, but we're going to have to find out. So there's 2 ways, right? And I want to stop the gameplay for a moment so I can kind of explain my thoughts here, right? So there's 2 ways that I can go about it. There's only 1 real way I can go about this, right? Walrein has to exit this matchup with an Icicle Spear loaded to force that Chargerbug to throw its energy. Either they don't throw and I get the Icicle Spear off and I win the game, or they throw their energy and I get 1 more Vine Whip from the way that I left my Venusaur prior to it swapping out. during their Volt Switch, and I'm able to throw my Frenzy Plant for the knockout. So that's what I need to do here, and that's the only way that I can win this game. We go for a Charge Attack priority. I need this to be enough. If I have to, I could try to farm down if it's not enough, but thankfully it is enough. We're going to have this Icicle Spear loaded. The opponent knows they have to go for the farm down in order to win the game, and Icicle Spear is going to take out the Chargerbug, and that's going to be a good game. I don't know how I pulled that off, but that was very, very close. Good game. All right, getting into the next game, we are going to have an Ariados on the lead. This is actually a really nasty little core breaker, as you guys know that I ran it last week here in the Open Great League, and the opponent is probably just going to run through my whole team, I got to be honest. If they start trailblazing me here, I'm in a bad way, but they go for Lunge, which is kind of nice, and then they go for a Gastrodon swap-in. So if the opponent had committed to staying in with those trailblazes, at least for the first one, I might have been in trouble, but I mean, I could have just Icy Winded, I guess, and continued to lower their attack, but the opponent here I think is just going for Body Slam. I'm very fine at this point to just let the Gastrodon take this matchup and get the farm on my Venusaur. Maybe even come in early with my Venusaur to get some farm here if I was thinking about it, but I really don't want to line my Venusaur up against the opponent's Ariados. So they throw energy here before I get to a move, and that means I'm going to be able to farm down with my Venusaur. Even though the energy is all resisted, I am fine with this, but my opponent just forcibly swaps into an Umbreon rather than letting their Gastrodon get farmed down. Now, they resist all of the energy on my Venusaur, so I think that it would have been more beneficial for the opponent here to just let their Gastrodon get farmed down, resist the energy with Ariados, and then hopefully their Umbreon beats whatever I have in the back. Now, it's a very neutral matchup, my Walrein into the rest of their team, but I'm just going to commit my Venusaur to this matchup so that my Walrein can have at least a better matchup in the back, but the one thing I have to be careful of is them not shielding that, plus the Walrein having water type as its secondary typing, means that it's going to have to deal with these Trailblazes, which I'm not fond of. The opponent could also just go for Lunges at this point. Really, yeah, they go for a Trailblaze. I know I can live one, but they have so much energy they can just get to 2 moves here, and I don't think my Venusaur is going to be able to get to another Sludge Bomb here, as it's so low. I basically am going to have to overfarm here, but my opponent gets to another move on the Gastrodon. And at this point, I'm pretty sure the game is kind of over here. So you just, they go for the Body Slam. They farm down. I'm surrendering because I'm like, I may have misplayed it. Maybe I had a chance at winning, but they played it very well. So good game. All right, next game here. We got a Greedent on the lead. Something I wasn't expecting to see in the running Bullet Seed, which actually might be the preferred moveset for Greedent now. I'm not sure, but they're going to go straight on 4 Bullet Seeds for their move. This might be the crunch here, and it is. The opponent going for maybe a debuff opportunity, maybe. I'm not sure. I would probably still go for Body Slam in neutral situations like this, but we are going to get a shield off of the Greedent, and I'm going to go ahead and maybe try to catch the crunch or the Body Slam because I thought they might be getting close to the second move, but Dugong's going to come in and absorb the energy, and the opponent has the crunch. I'm assuming that because they had crunch, they weren't going to have Trailblaze, and they also win Cacti on my Dugong, which is not something that I usually deal with because I didn't see as many Greedents in the Open Great League while I was playing Dugong last, but my poor Dugong. We're going to get the Icy Wind off. We're retaining shield advantage here. This is telling me one of 2 things. Either they have an answer in the back for my Venusaur and they're trying to get switch advantage, or they have no answer in the back for Ice and they actually come in with a Toxapex. So I think that maybe they were trying to save the Toxapex here to deal with my Venusaur, but we're going to be able to quickly swap in now that the opponent has switch locked themselves. And if I can get rid of this Toxapex, I'm hoping that maybe my Walrein does well, because if the opponent had a hard answer to Ice in the back, they would have brought it in by now. So we're going to go ahead and shield up, even though it's a brine. I want to be able to get one more charge move off here before they're able to take me out, because I don't have an easy way for my Walrein to get to an Earthquake and knock out. And at that point, I would rather just take it out, and they have a Mandibuzz in the back. Not going to lie, a lot of these games were kind of just won by the fact that my opponents had Mandibuzz in the back. I come in with my Dugong here to force them to throw the energy that they've got stored, and then I can come in with my Walrein and look to finish this game off with it. Walrein is coming in here, and we're going to be able to go for Icicle Spears. I'm just going to have to make sure that the opponent doesn't try to catch, and if they do, I need to be able to try and, obviously farm past the catch and not throw energy into this Greedent. Here comes the Greedent, and we farm it down. That's why you want to prioritize good timing. Something especially that I've noticed in the early season is if you're doing a 2-turn move like Powder Snow into a 3-turn move like the Snarls, as long as you know where your opponent's at in energy and you can tank a move or you have a shield, as long as you throw on good timing being 1, 4, or 7 of your own fast moves, usually you can kind of get past these catch attempts when the opponents are trying to catch on alignment. So, good game. Getting into the next game, we got a tricky lead here in this one. It's a Superior, and it has Aerial Ace coverage for my Venusaur, and it's also going to have the Grass-type Frenzy Plant to deal super effective damage to my Walrein and Dugong. So I'm actually going to go for 5 Vine Whips and swap to catch the move. Dugong is going to be able to catch the Icy Wind. Thankfully, we do predict it, and the opponent's going to stay in, try to go for the Frenzy Plant to get a shield here, which is definitely, I think, the correct move. Because they're going to get a shield, and then they can come in with whatever they're going to come in with. I'm going to stay in for a little bit, go for 3 more to keep myself topped up on energy. But my opponent's not swapping out here, so I'm wondering if they're just waiting for this debuff to hit. But they're going to throw immediately here, and I'm like, you know, I don't want to take a risk. It could be the Frenzy Plant. At this point, I guess I could just let it go, save the shield, hope that Walrein is going to be able to do okay in the back. If the opponent is staying in with Superior, maybe they don't have an Ice Answer in the back, and the opponent comes in with a Venusaur, and at this point, I'm like, what? why is there a Superior in the lead with a Venusaur in the back? And this person actually reached out to me in the comments on the stream that we played this on, and they're like, yeah, I was just running triple grass to have some fun, and just destroyed so many things that were weak to grass in this meta. So I respect it, but we get another Aerial Ace catch. At this point, I'm feeling kind of rude. So don't mean to be mean about making these nasty little catches, but sometimes I guess we just got to do it. But the opponent is going for the Frenzy Plant. Again, they're not swapping out, so I'm just like, this energy on Walrein is going to do fine here, and then they come in with a Chestnut. So my main issue here is Superpower, right? I don't have a shield anymore, and they have Superpower. So they also have a shield, and so I have to be careful. I can get to the second Icicle Spear here before they're able to paste the Superpower, and my Venusaur does actually completely wall the energy, and I'm able to swap in and make a catch. There's no way they can knock out. No move that Chestnut has is going to be able to deal anything to my Venusaur, and so I'll just go for the Frenzy Plant here, get the knockout, and then we get to farm down the Superior, and that's a good game. Yes, it was a meme, but I have seen so many teams with like Gastrodon in the lead and then Azumarill in the back. I don't blame them for running triple grass because there are just so many teams that do not respect it. Jumpluff lead, just the same as any other flyer. We're going to go straight to Dugong here, and we're going to look to go for Icy Winds. The opponent's running, again, another flyer, ground 4, and so because Gastrodon is their best answer to my Dugong safe swap, I am going to hope, once again, that Walrein is going to be able to do well in the back. I have to save shields, though, to deal with the Jumpluff, because Energy Ball will put me in a very, very nasty position, but I'm also very fine with letting this go, because if I can get farm on my Venusaur right now, I will also be able to get a Sludge Bomb off against the Jumpluff. Now, my opponent brings in a Dunsparce here just off the rip. They don't even, they just swap, which they're giving up alignment. Once again, they have really, really favorable alignment into the Jumpluff on my Venusaur, but them giving it up. And even though we have a smaller switch timer, that does not mean that it's always going to be in your favor to just simply switch out and try to get your third Pokemon in there, because what this does is it gives me valuable information of what the rest of your team is, and I can make a plan now. I can just say, you know what, I'm saving 2 shields for my Walrein because it beats the rest of this team, and that's fine with me. So Walrein's going to come in, the opponent comes in with their Gastrodon, and I can simply shield once, go for a full farm down here, and be totally fine with locking on these Icicle Spears onto the Jumpluff where they're double super effective. Look at all this energy, dude. So if they had decided to keep alignment here, right? Let me farm down. The Venusaur gets the Sludge Bomb. Maybe they have to give their second shield, which is maybe what they were trying to avoid doing in the first place by swapping in the Dunsparce. But Walrein does not have a good matchup into Dunsparce because of the fact that you've got that rollout and Rock Slide. But good game to this opponent, nonetheless. Getting into the next game, we got Clodsire. This is a decent lead for this team here. I've actually learned to just simply swap in the Dugong right away, and if the opponent wants to go for their Stone Edge, then they will. The opponent displaying some really nice timing given the swap being 1 turn, and then they come in with Lickilicky. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. At least I got enough energy to get some debuffs on this thing. We're just going to go for the Icy Winds here to try and get these debuffs off. And then hopefully the Earthquake or the Shadow Ball if they throw it. Or if they can just go for Body Slam spam. Either way, 2 debuffs is going to make it so that we can get some pretty good traction against this thing. I'm going to let this go because I'm not expecting it to be anything. But they clocked me with a Solar Beam, dude. And then I panic and swap because I don't want them to farm down. And I'm going to come in with my Venusaur. And, this battle was not in the sets that I had initially did for this video, but I respect the trainer so much. This was the Solar Beam that landed before anybody even featured a Solar Beam Lickilicky in any video. There had not been a video for it yet. So that is why I featured it, because I'm like, dude, I don't know if they did that or they had no TMs, but like them having, what did they have? They had like Solar Beam, Shadow Ball or something. Like, I don't know if they were just out of TMs, but I respect them so much for that spice. Bro, the Solar Beam, I was not expecting it whatsoever. So, good game to this opponent. I don't really know that there's a way for me to win as soon as I see this for Alligator, but we're going to go ahead and try. My only hope here is that I can get the bait call with the Icicle Spear, and then maybe land an Earthquake. I know Earthquake does maybe about 80%-ish after the Powder Stones. It's not gonna come quite close to knocking out. I basically need to get a catch. The opponent knows the catch is coming, and they're going to be able to land the Hydro Cannon. So very well played, taking me way off guard. I think I might have had a better chance if they didn't have Solar Beam, but then again, I mean, people are going to have what they're going to have, and that's it. So good game. All right, another Clodsire lead in this next game. We're going to have to see what the opponent's got in the back. This time, I'm just going to stay in for a little bit, even though it's kind of against... This is so... The game we just saw was me adjusting to this game, right? Because this game was the final game in the sets that I actually had planned for this video, and then we did another set afterwards where that Solar Beam happened, and I'm like, I gotta include this, so I just kind of crammed it in here. But opponent's gonna go for the Stone Edge. We're gonna call it here, and then we're gonna be able to get a Frenzy Plant. I'm looking to get a shield advantage here, and then maybe come in with my Dugong after this. This is not typically how I should handle this situation, because I need to keep my Venusaur alive in the for whatever might be in the back. I'm shielding back here as the opponent goes for Earthquake. Maybe they're not even running Stone Edge, but then allowing me to get that slight energy lead allows me to get to a Drill Run before the opponent gets to their first move, which is kind of nice, because once the Drill Run lands, I can actually threaten them with Icy Wind if I want to. So either way, though, they're also low enough that Venusaur actually might get a Vine Whip down here, possibly. So they're just going for Hydro Cannon, which tells me that they are one of the masses running the Ice Beam Hydro Cannon set. So no crunch here, so I'm totally fine with just letting these moves go, as I'm not really expecting to win this matchup, and even if I do, it's not really going to provide me any benefits, so to speak. So I'm going to go for the Icy Wind, and again, I've seen this team before, right? They usually have Mandibuzz in the back, so that's what I'm kind of banking on, is another game where I'm just going to have to deal with Mandibuzz. And if they have something else in the back, then so be it. But we are going to get this farm down here, and the opponent has a third Pokemon that is coming in very shortly after they wait out their switch timer. They are definitely going to have to try to make a catch. It's a Jumpluff, so it's not quite the Mandibuzz, but it's actually just as good. The thing is here is they can get to Energy Ball, and I don't have a shield, and I also can't catch yet. I can try to make a catch, but it may not go my way. Both of my Pokemon are very, very low here, so I'm going to have to be careful about it. But we're going to have to just see how much the Energy Ball does. That's really it, because that's all I got, man. So we're going to see how much Energy Ball. It's a non-Shadow Pluff. It doesn't knock out. Now we're going to be able to get the farm down, and the opponent is going to concede, and that's going to be game. Well played to the opponent. Again, Venusaur is absolutely a really good lead. Grass in general is a good lead, especially if it has good play into things like Clodsire, and you can obviously expect most grass types to have positive play into the Mud Boys. But Ice in general right now is extremely good with all the flying ground cores. You're able to take advantage of a lot of positive team comps, especially when you're running double Ice. If it doesn't have to be this particular 2 Ice type Pokemon, and I didn't even realize how many legacy moves were on this team until I was putting this overlay together for the team. But yeah, if you don't have if you don't have these things built, and you could definitely substitute with other Ice types. Dugong could also, I guess, technically be a Dunsparce if you wanted to. And then Walrein, you could use Aurorus. You could use... I probably would opt away from something like a Alolan Sandslash, though, because of the weakness to fire. You want to just make sure that whatever Ice type you bring is not critically weak to fire. But again, also, so something like Lickilicky or Dunsparce probably also works just as fine, as long as it's got positive play into flying types, fire types, and other ice types as well. So that's going to do it for me for today in this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this team gets some traction, because I think it's really, really strong in the meta right now. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!